Hello! Hello, everyone! It's your favorite DeFi degen George! And we are here for YRISE. I'm sorry I'm late. Little computer problem. A little late getting started in the morning. This is what happens when you're working such long hours and have so much to do. Oh my. Alright, so here we are going to jump into YRISE. I will not bury the lead. I will go ahead and, yep. Good. Sorry, just gotta make sure people know about what's going on. Alright, so here we are. Alright, excellent. Hello, people! Let me make sure I get my chat window open. Yes, there we go. Now I should be able to see things. I wish I could do something about this YouTube chat and, like, break it out, or, I don't know, something worthwhile. Why are you not showing me my chat? You're terrible. Oh my god. Why? What is happening? Oh my goodness. Alright, fine. We'll do that. Okay. Aha! There we go. Now I've got something that's broken out. Huzzah. Hello! There we are. Yes, I did hear the PayPal news. It is... I don't like PayPal, but for the market, it is very good. It is amazingly good. It is so good. So much good in that. Oh, yeah, I'm so happy about the PayPal one. As much as I fucking hate PayPal, as much as they were the ones that let some information get out and led to the extortion attempt, that's, you know, whatever. That's fine. I closed that. I don't need that. Yes, we are going to work on that. Because I will not bury the lead. YRISE. YRISE is solid. There's nothing, no exploit in the code that I could see. The tokens are locked up for an appropriate amount of time. You guys, well, I should say, you guys can judge if it's locked up for the appropriate amount of time, but they are locked up. So we got some things to get through, and so, well, maybe the volume is good. You know what? That's a personal opinion. I won't comment on whether it is good or bad or whatever. I'm just going to say, yep, let's see if we can just pump that up, because this looks like a solid project. So, going to let you know, did run a little transaction here, so you can see exactly how much I got in to start off with. So this is where I am right now. This was just done so that I could confirm absolutely positively, having gone through the site, that yes, we are interacting with the right contracts. Fantastic. Over here in Unicrypt, we can see that, yep, we've got our lock here. It is actually locked. It's got an upcoming unlock. That's going to be, my goodness, that's a long time from now. Wow. So yeah, there we are. It's going to be the liquidity is locked up, so that's not going anywhere for quite a while. Bam. Then from here, we're going to take a look and see the token. So to be clear, I'm looking at the YRISE finance token. There's the address up there. Wanted to check the holders just to confirm where are they, how are they standing. So boom, we've got YRISE itself right here, the token. See, boom, there's the ERC20 token. There is some of the definition. We'll be getting into all of these particular points. This though is actually in the 7018. Let me just double check that I've got that particular window open. Yep, there it is. See there, down there at the end where there's the actual staking contract. So we'll be coming back to that, going through the contract. Just wanted to confirm for you that, yep, here are the main holders. That consists of, well, I can tell you right now, we're about to look at them. The 3 contracts here, those are the time locks. That's holding the YRISE. Looks like that's the various team allocations, you know, the marketing fund, the team, you know, all the stuff that people usually do. And then we've got the actual staking contract here. That's showing up as a token because of how it was implemented. And then we've got the actual DEX here. And so you can just confirm that, yep, that is an actual DEX. See, right there, decentralized exchange, boom, lots of stuff running through, WETH and YRISE, all right? So, bam. Don't need to look at the DEX exchange, can confirm, yep, that's where people are trading. So, boom. Standard Uniswap contract. Nothing big or serious there. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad. I'm glad people are enjoying the content. I'm glad people are appreciating, the work that I'm doing. I understand, not perfect. Can't always get a perfect project through because, buh. Hey, there we go. Now I've got some control. Huzzah. And can really only just, let you guys know what is going on. You guys got to decide for yourself. I can't even give financial advice. I got terrible, terrible, I'm horrible at that, to be honest. Jesus. I run a fucking charity, for God's sakes, out of my pocket. So, I'm not a guy to ask about financial advice or how to stack coins. What I can do is tell you whether or not the code will function. So, let's not bury the lead any further. Let's go ahead and go into that. Now, I want to remind people, I do my own testing and analysis before I get in, so I know it may look like I'm just skimming through the code. That's partly because I just, let's save some time here. Now, I know it says that this contract is similar to deployed bytecode 4 and gives an address. That's because we're starting off with the time lock contract. There are 3 of those, and they are all the same, but we're going to take a quick look through each of them. So, pardon, I'm not trying to just rush through code that I'm not looking at, but as I said before, it's an interface. Nothing to explain there. Fantastic. It's safe math. You start seeing safe math enough, you start seeing any library enough, and you just get used to what it looks like. Yep, that's good. We've got another library here. This is just telling you if it is a contract. It's a standard library from OpenZeppelin. It just kind of confirms, hey, is this a contract? We can check that by checking some size. All right, fantastic. Then we've got the library safe ERC20. Pretty standard implementation. Actually, the standard implementation. Nothing weird or special going on there. That does make for safe transfers. Means that, we don't have major exploits that can be executed there. And then we get down to the actual token time lock itself. And so down here, we've got that, it's got the interface. It's using safe ERC20 for the actual interaction with the token itself. And here, I'll try to make that a bit bigger because we can. There we go. Then from there, we've got, so it now can refer to the token and actually have a reference to that. Bam. Has the beneficiary, that's the one that it's going to be going out to. Has the release time, so it knows when it unlocks. It's set all of that during construction, so boom, went in, set everything, here's the token you're going to be working with, here's who you'll be paying out, here's the release time, bam. View function doesn't change anything, but it does report the token, as you saw. Beneficiary, also a view function, doesn't change anything, reports who's going to get that payout. Then, from there, got the release time, again, a view function, so it doesn't change anything, just shows you when it'll be done. And then release, it is double checking the block timestamp, and thus is checking the release time. Again, this isn't exact because we're looking at the block timestamp. Can't target exactly when a block will be mined, and time is a little off on blockchains. Not they're out of sync, but it's more we don't have a good way of keeping actual time. We're just mining blocks as we go along. But that's really neither here nor there. I really do need to do a video dedicated solidly just to Solidity, and then I can kind of cut down on the time of these things by telling people look, go watch the video over there about how all this works and some of the stuff we're dealing with, and then boom, you can come back here and understand what we're talking about. But in here, it is keeping track of the balance of the token for this address. It is storing that amount. It is making sure that that amount is greater than 0, and then it's executing that safe transfer out to the beneficiary. Bam, straightforward. Nothing weird or odd there. We can definitely take a quick look at the transaction that created this thing. So then, yes, and that is always an annoying part. I really wish I would like something that is just Etherscan and Bloxy together. Can we just get the two companies to get together and give us one solid interface? Or you know what? Maybe that's something the charity does. Maybe that's it. We'll get the API, we'll build the website, we'll just put it together and call it good. But do want to confirm in the contract creation here exactly what was done, because that's when the time lock was set, and so we can see those arguments. There is that release time. Again, this is done in seconds from the timestamp, so that is doing that comparison, or I should say, it is picking up that point and making that comparison to the block timestamp. So again, your call if that's actually long enough for you, but you can pull up the transaction logs, you can confirm that, you can easily find those from the holders. Like I said, they're in the top 5, well, sorry, they're in the top 5 holders. There is the staking contract, there's the staking contract there. So there's a time lock, there's a time lock, there's a time lock. That's Uniswap right there, and then boom, that is the actual staking contract. And you can see, bam, all nicely locked up for a period of time. Your call on on whether that's long enough for your choice, because I'm not telling you what to do. I can't tell you what to do. But we're going to double check all 3 of the time lock contracts. I know they say that there's some similarity between all of them. Looks like this was the first one, but we want to be absolutely sure. So again, interface, library, standard implementation, address, also standard implementation, nothing crazy going on there. Safe ERC, again, a library, standard implementation on the Safe ERC20, then token time lock, and as you can see, same setup, nothing different there. So, pardon if I'm just kind of moving along so that we get right to the point and everyone has the evidence they need to make their own decisions. Same thing going on here, another token time lock coming through, interface, safe math, standard implementation, address, standard implementation, same thing, library, safe ERC20, standard implementation, and boom, down to the time lock, and as we can see, exactly the same, nothing different. So we got 3 time locks, they're all implemented exactly the same. If you're curious on exactly the time and you want to be absolutely sure, you can always double check the transaction here. I would recommend Bloxy because it gives you this nice, it shows you all the transactions and breaks down exactly to, exactly the arguments that were passed in. Go ahead and set that. So, bam, there we go. We got the time locks, they're in place, they're secure and safe, simple enough. Now, we're going to move on to the staking contract. Well, you know what, let me take care of the token contract first, because we want to make sure there's no vulnerabilities there, then we'll go look at the staking contract. This is YRISE. You should have the link in the description for YRISE. To be clear, it is yrise.finance. Here, I'll even paste that here in the chat, so you can get absolutely sure. And as it is right now, you can see I am bought in on the project, bought in as part of my testing to confirm, all right, let me make absolutely sure, yes, I see what the website does, let me engage with it, let me follow the transactions through. That's how simple enough to go check what's there, but always useful to actually dig through the transaction logs, follow these things around, and make sure what is actually happening. Hence, I bought, hence, I staked, hence, I then follow the transactions through, verify that that's what's in the source code, and we are now here where we're taking a look at the token itself. And again, just to be clear, I'm just giving the report on the research that I did previously. All of this stuff, like safe math, standard implementation, nothing to analyze in there. Same thing with Ownable. This is the OpenZeppelin library. Nothing special going on there. And as always, remember, just because a library's in there, just because they're using a common name like Ownable, like Mint, does not necessarily mean that there's a problem. Thank you. I appreciate that. I do. And remember, everyone, remember, I am working for tips. I am not getting, well, we are accepting donations from the teams. Not every team can donate. A lot of times teams have tokens locked up. And so, and the donations are not going into my pocket. They are going into the charity so that we can keep doing this stuff. And right now that is covering our costs to ramp up, to get more people involved. Got a lot of commitments on projects. And so that's where making sure that all of this can be covered, because as it may seem as simple as like, oh, well, you're just a dude sitting at a computer. I know none of you guys are saying that, but like, you're just a dude sitting at a computer looking at code. Like, well, I could be doing other things with my time, and I am not. And that means that there is not money to pay bills. Hence, need money to pay bills. And I'm still working a day job on all this. Not that I'm locked up in there. It's just, it's a commitment to a buddy helping out with his company. Great guy, great company. It's like, you take up so much of my time. It's fine. It's good. It's interesting. I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing out, got a day job, got charity, got audits, got to get no sleep. But anyway, moving in. In here, we've got for our Ownable. That is where, excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining. Yay. Hello, Luna. So, Partner, I'm just moving through. We already went through the time lock contracts, confirmed, yep, tokens are locked up, so, however that is being divided up, I was not terribly concerned with who said to get what, because they're locked up for an extended period of time, and the liquidity is locked on Uniswap, so boom, that's there, and it's not unlocking until 2020, so bam. That is, whew. These guys are patient. They are patient. Alright, so from here, we then can take a look at how this is set up. We got the name, YRISE Finance, very good. And you know what, let me go ahead and make sure I drop the address for this one, because you want to make sure don't fall for duplicates. It happens every time something comes out, there is a duplicate that comes up. Make sure that you are always double checking contract addresses. Always, always, always. Always make sure you're checking the first few characters, usually 6 characters after the 0x. Make sure you're checking the last 6 characters at the very least to make sure you're getting the right one. And remember, you don't have actually control over that address, but people can manipulate it. And so you want to be absolutely sure that you're checking both, because it's not really possible for someone to brute force the generation of a wallet and then find an exact one, alright? Or find something that quite matches if you start checking more and more characters. But if you just do a slapdash, alright, the last 2 characters match up, head up on that, alright? Chill. Make sure you actually check the whole thing. Or at least 6 characters at the beginning, 6 characters at the end. That's enough entropy that it should be secure. And I'll get into what I mean by entropy and all of that. But yeah, that is the address for YRISE. If you want to head to Uniswap, do whatever you want. I'm not telling you to buy. I'm not telling you to sell. I'm not telling you to stake. I'm telling you that the code is safe. That there is not a risk here. That there's not an exploit risk here. As far as, your choice on financial risk, that is your call. I can't make a comment there. As far as call on market risk, have no idea. I'm a terrible, terrible trader. Alright, this is why I don't trade. This is why I buy, why I hodl, why I stake. Trying to flip things just does not work for me. But this is really nice. It's a very, very simple setup. I like that. There's not a lot of complexity here. Very simple to go through. So, from here, we've got, gives you the name. As always, don't just go by the name, but nice to confirm that's what there. Make sure you go by the contract address. That's what I dropped in there. So you can double check that, be absolutely sure. Giving the symbol YRISE, fantastic. Standard 18 decimal places, beautiful. To be clear, again, that's why we have that here, where it's starting out with a 30,000 supply, then it is adding on the additional decimal points, because remember, we don't have floating point numbers, we've got integers. That means we have to keep adding and removing zeros to deal with floating point numbers. Similar thing for going for the pre-sale burn amount, so it can burn out, so had a maximum of 9,000, but that was back during the pre-sale. We're out of that, moving on. We've got the pre-sale burn total, the staking burn total, and the total supply. Fantastic. Giving us event, transfer and approval events, pretty standard. It's got a nice mapping here to keep track of the balance, also good. Mapping inside of mapping to keep track of the allowance, also standard implementations. You find that all over the place. Then, where was I? Ah, yes. Then, from there, we've got our constructor. Yes, it is setting the owner. Alright, we'll see exactly what power the owner has, if anything. It's setting the total supply, doing that by setting it to the maximum supply. Simple enough. In that it's got the maximum supply hard-coded here. Beautiful. Then here it's setting the balance. It started off with the message sender, but to be clear, that was just to kick things off. We saw earlier, right here, under the holders, that the primary holders are 3 time locks. That's the smart contract entries here. The staking contract, it shows up as a ERC20 just because of the type they used. And then Uniswap right there, and we saw that the liquidity is locked over in Unicrypt. Fantastic. Yay, Unicrypt, so good. You're actually useful. I hope you continue being useful. I know you had a talk about launching another coin. I gotta double check on where you end up with that, but whatever. And they made a point of actually going and emitting the transfer for them minting the coins during creation. You know, when they brought this thing into existence and created the first supply of coins, they even emitted the transfer to say, hey, we did that. I might have preferred to call it mint, just to be absolutely sure so people can distinguish, but you know what? Transfer makes sense, it works, it's not a confusing point, no problem there. I just got a difference of opinion on wording, but then again, I'm a fucking autistic loon, so don't mind me on that point. So yep, they even made sure that everyone could see the transfer, everyone could see that log, and understand that, yep, we got this. So these guys are trying to, it looks like they're trying to make sure everything is as transparent as possible. Now, heading down, we've got a view function, total supply, doesn't change anything. Same thing with a view function for balance of a who. So we're just passing an address, boom, tells you who that is. We've got transfer from address and value. In this case, as you can see in accessing the balance of from and subtracting and balance from, in this case, understand that when it's retrieving the balance of there, it is, boom, 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 going to be getting that, where is that? Yep, in keeping track, there we are. In the balance of, it's accepting an address, it is accepting a value. Now, this is a case, to be clear, that when accessing that from address up here, and when they're calling subtract, what they're doing is they're not calling a function on the address. What they're doing is asking for the value inside the balance of. When they get that, they're then subtracting an amount from the number that comes out. That's what happens with these mappings. You pass in a value of the first type, in this case an address, and it gives you back the value of the second type, in this case an integer. It's called a mapping. In other languages we have things like hash maps. There's a variety of ways to be keeping track of that. That's what's happening here. It's called a key value store. That's why I wanted to highlight here that this is not like a case where they were calling something off the address directly. Might be an exploit based on how the function is implemented. That sub is not talking to the address. That sub, which is the subtract value from safe math, is talking to the integer number, the whole number that comes out of balance of when you pass in an address. So boom. Will I audit a Noki? Yes, they did. You know what? Let's. I gotta get things in order because it is in order. I just gotta make sure everyone knows. Because getting messages on Twitter just does not work terribly well if we're trying to schedule and arrange audits. I'm not saying anyone's doing anything wrong. I appreciate it, but to be very clear, been working on sites, been working on form. Anyone that wants an audit, if you could email that over to audits@chain.church. We have a form that we're working on. It's a website, again, problem with being back-end developers, just not good at the whole website design and stuff, and I literally don't, that's the thing I don't know. Like, I could use some back-end JavaScript to handle some testing, but websites will, just not my thing. So, if somebody needs an audit, make sure they send it over there. We'd appreciate if they send in links to their code and their repo. Please have tests in there. I can't believe that nobody's writing tests, so just include the goddamn tests, please, to make my life easier. And any documentation, just stick the documentation in the GitHub. Git can store anything, just put it in there to make it easy, and send me the link over. And then make sure you include that. I would like any documentation, like links to white paper, tokenomics, whatever, and smart contract addresses so I can double check. I will go to the site, I will confirm what is in there, I will interact with it with a little bit just to follow the transaction logs through and see where things stand. But again, best way to make sure you get that in is audits@chain.church. That will make sure it goes into the queue. That will make sure staff in the church are processing through that, getting things primed, getting things set up, and there's actually multiple people that go through this. Really, the best way to think of it is, this is not really me auditing the code, this is me reporting on the audit that we did previously and actually explaining our findings. So again, please understand, like, not the first time we're looking at this, we're not just skimming through things, but there's a bunch of stuff that's like, well, it's just a standard implementation, there's really not much to explain there, and we spend a lot of time doing that. So, moving on. So yeah, happy to help him out. Not sure exactly when we can get to him. Very, very swamped. But yes, have them email their info over. Like I said, repo with the source code. If they want to keep it private and they would like to add, then go ahead and have them send the email over. I'll tell them which account to add, and we'll get all that set up. So, man, there we go. Oh yeah, I know. You're a terrible person, so we'll just, not have to deal with you. Alright, so now we are here to dealing with the balances. So we're subtracting the balance from a transfer. So we're saying, alright, you don't have that anymore. Then we're going to add that to who you're transferring it to. Beautiful. We emit the transfer. This does make sure that if there is an issue further down when it comes to here, like here's the public version of that. And when it's doing that, it's confirming that, yes, you have to have the appropriate value. So that way, this is where it's doing that check to make sure that when it calls transfer, that it will actually be able to be done. It is picking up message sender. It's pretty simple, making sure that's occurring. So that way we're no chance that somebody can transfer somebody else's tokens. And on top of that, if something does happen and it tries to re-enter, well, one, we've got a check here to say, well, yeah, sure, technically you could try to loop that around, but at a certain point you're going to run out because you're not going to have a balance anymore. Second, when you come in, we just keep deducting the amount from you. So if you try to hack this that very crude way, then you're just going to keep sending more and more of your money to somebody else. All right. This is an internal function. You're not calling it directly. Down here, the transfer function, that's public. That's the one people are using to actually transfer around. So boom, off it goes. And as said, it goes ahead and sets the transfer. There we are. Now, burn. This is burning that. This is pretty standard setup. It's establishing, all right, first off, we want to check to see if this is a pre-sale burn. So that's just setting in a true or false. So saying, all right, during the pre-sale, we had a different operation. And so if we're in there, then we'll be managing the next one. If not, then we're just going to, or sorry, if we are in there, we're going to use the pre-sale burn logic. If not, then we're going to use the standard burn logic. In here, it is checking the pre-sale burn total add. So it's making sure to add that to the total that was burned during the pre-sale. Making sure that, sorry, to be clear here, it's not modifying that number. It is just saying, look, let's make sure that we haven't reached that maximum yet. If we have, then boom, we're not going to worry. We're not going to burn anymore. Require, it's also going to check to see, all right, do you actually have enough to burn? And so to be clear here, this is where the owner was burning that from their own wallet during the pre-sale burn. Or I should say the owner has a function over on the staking contract and stuff where they were burning that. So I don't want to necessarily say that was their own wallet. That was the control mechanism that owned this, and it's very, very common to have other contracts own other contracts so they can control them. Now, in here, did the pre-sale burn add? This is how you know it's an add. It's resetting that variable to the result of over here. So when we call the add, it's not changing that value. It's not directly adding. It's just saying, take that number, add this other number, and then give me the result. When we do the equals, that's when we're saying, now go ahead and set that to whatever that result is. All right, so then does the transfer. Transferred it from the owner to address 0. Then in the burn amount, fantastic. Modified the total supply by deducting that amount, beautiful. If it's outside the pre-sale, then it doesn't bother updating the pre-sale amount. It just does everything else. Okay, cool. That means that it doesn't matter if the owner comes back and tries to like do this again and passes in a true for the pre-sale burn. Like, okay, great. All you're doing is adding it to the pre-sale burn amount. That's really not significant in the grand scheme of things, and you are still burning and everything's still working properly. So, okay, we're good. Now, from here, that is where for the approve, standard approve function, nothing odd or strange there. Perfectly normal and everything else. And transfer from, again, it is doing that check to see, all right, if you, for example, go to, like, say some other team decides that they're going to accept YRISE in their staking, this is making the point of saying, all right, well, if you ask another contract to transfer it, this is checking to see, hey, are you actually allowed to do that? So every time you have to click the approve button, that's what's going on here, is the approve function earlier is getting set, you're getting added to the approve list, it holds an amount that you are allowed to transfer. That's what the allowance array is for, to say, are you allowed to and how much are you allowed to? And then, boom, actually executes that transfer. So this is safe, this is perfectly fine. It's going to be doing those checks to say, are you actually allowed? If so, then we're going to deduct the amount that you're transferring from the amount that you are allowed to transfer, which is nice and safe. That means that it can't go on forever. And then we'll just go ahead and transfer that. Pretty straightforward. All right, fantastic. Now, we then have over here the actual token contract. Bam! I'm sorry, the YRISE, the staking contract. Sorry, this was the token contract. This is the actual staking contract. Beautiful. And again, running through this straightforward. There's our math library, does some basic checks. There's the safe math library, and again, that's because safe math inherits or imports math. Straightforward. From there, We've got, boom, context, standard implementation. And again, pardon as I'm moving through, but, you know, this is standard code. There's nothing weird going on here. This is literally just the Open Zeppelin libraries. So, don't need to go through and explain absolutely every little thing. One point here, again, just like we saw over here, when we saw, yep, there is ownership. Don't necessarily freak out just because there's ownership. As we saw, the only function that has any owner control is this burn function. And that's just where they are offering up that point of pre-sale burn or normal burn and burning out amounts. There is nothing else that the owner can do in this. It's just the logic isn't there. So, similar point here. Yes, there's ownership. All right, we'll dig in and see what that is. This is a standard implementation, the Open Zeppelin contract for handling ownership. All right, straightforward. Interface to make it easier to interact with things. No logic there. It's not doing anything, so no concern there. Here is the is contract. In doing that check, it is actually checking to see the hash of whether or not that is a contract. All right, not a problem. The staking contract does want to check to see if something else is a contract. And then the other points of like to payable, send value, again, standard amounts or standard implementations. Safe ERC20, also standard implementation. This is just what's coming from Open Zeppelin. Makes it safer to interact with and transferring tokens around. But again, no actual logic there. Now we're down to our first unique thing. This is the iReward distribution recipient. Alright, so what is going on here? It's got an address for the reward distribution. It's got a modifier, so that's logic that can be added onto other functions, where it's requiring that the message sender be the reward distribution. Alright, makes sense. And then has that insert for other code. Cool. Let's actually see how that's used further on. It's got the set reward distribution, says that only the owner can set the reward distribution, and since that's an address, that's going to be where the reward goes to. Alright, also straightforward. Nothing untoward there, no vulnerabilities, it's just a set, checking the owner, and then making that call for the reward distribution. Alright, now, digging into the LP token wrapper. Oh. Need FOMO coming $1,000. Cool. I guess, like, fear of missing out on this token, or... Oh, it's coming to 1,000. Right. Sorry. It's early. I'm still working through my coffee. Apologize. Yes, by all means. Feel free to do your cheerleading. Feel free to do your marketing. You know what? I got no problem with the marketing, the cheerleading, the shilling, the whatever. So long as you're not actually, like, honestly shilling some sort of con or scam and not being a giant dick and, like, shitting on other projects, then fine, you know? You know, like the thing I posted about Team and Squirrel. Like, hey, Team, you're beautiful. You're magnificent. You provide a service. Hey, Squirrel.finance, you're beautiful. You also provide a service. They're not exactly the same service. They're kind of similar, but there's some distinction there. And you know what? You go great together. Team, Squirrel, you're beautiful. Rah, rah, rah on both sides. No need to denigrate either one. So yeah, by all means, cheerlead, rah, 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 shill, all that stuff. Just, you know, don't be a dick about it. There's no need to harm and to shit on other projects. There's so much room in the space. There's so much room to invest. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. Let's take a look at the YRISE staking. This is a LP token wrapper. All right. In this case, it's got a address. It starts off with the YRISE, but that gets adjusted. So hold on. That's where in here got the duration for 7 days. So again, it's that token reward for 7 days from whitelist sales. So say, all right, when it's done, we're going to reward out those tokens from the 7 days. That's kind of why it starts off with the 0 address, so it can adjust that as appropriate and not when it's set up. Then we've got our period finish. Again, all of these are starting off at default values, so they can be adjusted when the thing is actually set up. Got the last update time, reward token per stored. That's again just a number of how much token should be rewarded out. Then it's got the user reward token paid, so it's keeping track of who's been rewarded what, and it's got a track of rewards. So it's keeping track of how much it's paid out to people and how much it needs to pay out to people. Has 4 nice events there: reward, stake, withdrawn, and reward paid. Cool. Modifier. It is accepting an address. In here, it says it's updating rewards. What it's doing is calling the reward token function. We'll see that down here in a second. It's then checking the last time reward applicable. So it's just double checking, like, hey, is it actually time, or when was the last time we actually rewarded you? Cool. When's the last time we actually rewards you? Nice. Let's keep track of that. Now, let's go ahead and find out what you earned versus what you're due. And so, like, all right, we're going to keep track of that and make sure that's in place. We're going to set that appropriately, provided that you're not address 0. And then we're going to be, boom, updating that amount to say, okay, there you are. There is the amount that you're rewarded. All right, pretty straightforward. So we're just marking the earned is equal to the rewards. That is because as we look down here, we can see the value that it's returning from the reward tokens per stored is there. So that's where it's getting that reward tokens per stored, passing those in. Yeah, reward per token stored, keeping track of that point. Now, from down here, setting YRISE, this is again, they did the safety measure up above to say, all right, we're going to start this off going out to 0 when we deploy it, then we'll change that after it's out there. That is where they're setting the contract token, so that's them saying, okay, I need to tell you where that is and what that's being set to. In setting the contract token, that is, well, like I said, it's actually confirming, yep, are you the right one? Are you in place? Let's go ahead and get you initialized. And then actually passing in the YRISE address. Straightforward. Last time the token was last time reward applicable. It's a view function, just shows in, all right, we're going to get the minus, we're going to say, all right, what's the time now, roughly, or when the block was mined, and when is that going to be done? So, I need to create my own token. Working on it. No, it is not Coyote token. I am definitely working on it. I've got many people that want to get in. So I appreciate you saying that. We have people working on that. We have people working on the audit DAO contracts. The auditing platform is, well, it's done, but we keep coming up with new points to add in, to modify, so we're going to get that in there. And that is a big one. If anyone wants an audit, if anyone's coming through for that, we would absolutely love a team that is not deployed anything yet, that there is no code out there at all. If they have not launched any code and they want to get an audit, they go right to the front of the fucking line, because we want to run them through our auditing platform and try that out, show that demo. So there you go. We will definitely let everyone know when it is out. It is taking a while. I apologize that it's taking so long. That's something people have to remember with this chains thing that I've been asked to work on, where I pitched my idea to the community. They like the idea. We're going to implement that, but please, everyone needs to understand, I know it seems to be taking way longer than other stuff does. You got to get that, everyone has to remember that other projects had a whole bunch of lead time in private before they released. Like, you got the announcement, but you don't know how much work they did before they actually announced something. I was asked by a community member to develop something for them as kind of a way to help recover from some scams they had suffered. A lot of people had suffered. Pointed out to them, hey, the thing you're asking for, I don't think that's going to work. I could do it, but, I'm not sure it's going to function, and I'm not sure I really want to help you, implement something that's not necessarily going to work. But I got this other idea, boom, pitched it to them, they're like, great, love that. But that's where everyone, please remember, it's not necessarily that it's taking longer than normal, or is, feet are being drugged, it's that literally the thing got announced while we're still in the design phase. So most stuff comes out when it's already had some time to design and they've done some development work. But anyway, that is neither here nor there. I do have a meeting I need to get to in shortly. So I want to make sure that I finish the audit and that we don't cut short on any of this. I know it looks like I'm skimming through the code, but understand, we got people, they go through the code, we all test everything, we confirm what's going on. We actually load it up in development environments by taking this source code, running a few tools through it, and running a few tests of our own. We try out some of the exploits, and then I just come back here and report that to you. And we're actually improving our process there, so we'll be collecting more of that information and actually publishing that out. That's something I need to get back to talking with the teams on, is to say, okay, I want to modify how we're doing things and say, we're going to take all of our tests, everything that we did, we're going to fork your repo, we're going to pack all of our work into the repository, we'll send you the pull request back so you can have a copy, but now this is our copy of the work. Here's the thing we audited, and boom, here is the test results. So we're slowly piling up these forks of various repos, which is kind of acting as our archive. But anyway, moving on to the point here. In here, we have the reward token. As we saw earlier, that is the call that's done up here for updating rewards in the modifier. What happens is it double checks, yes, do we have a total supply? We do, fantastic. That's just for if it ever like whittles down at some point, you know? And somehow ever like runs out. Shouldn't be able to do that, but technically with these deflationary tokens, they do have an end date at some point. It's like years and years and years away. But I'm just pointing out, you know, if you keep taking an amount off every time, and you keep taking a percentage, you're going to get a Zeno's paradox where you keep getting closer and closer to zero, but never quite there. But eventually you will get to a point where you can't cut that last part into a piece, and that last little bit into a piece, and therefore it won't work. But like I said, that is pretty much everything out there that is deflationary, and that is literally everything out there that is deflationary, and that is like years away. So we're good. And people can always migrate, so no big deal. Anyway, for the reward per token stored, that's what it's returning. It is taking the reward per token stored. It is adding on, and again, not updating the value. It's just this is how it's doing the calculation. Okay. So remember that. We're not changing the value when we call this add. We're just saying, all right, take this value, add in, or add on an amount, and then give me that back. Don't change the original. So we're adding on the last reward time, last time reward applicable. We're subtracting out the last update time, so multiplying it by the reward rate, and then adding on the necessary zeros for the decimal point. So, yep, pardon there, I need some water. Adding on the decimal point, fantastic, and then dividing that by the total supply. Fantastic, beautiful, straightforward. Then we've got earned. This is determining how much has someone earned, setting their balance. It is doing the math, because again, understand that it may not have actually done the work to dole that out. This is a view function, so you can see, all right, what have you earned? What is due to you? And then doing that, we're going to report that out. But understand, it's not until it calls the update that it's actually going to be able to update that. Pardon me, really need that water. Ah, there we go. All right. So, in here, for handling that amount, or getting that earned amount, it's telling you what amount will be doled out to you when the update is called. That is handled in the update reward, and so that is where, again, it's showing you what it will be when you actually retrieve or stake or do anything really that's going to update the reward. But we don't have a way to poll. We don't have a way to run something on a timer, is what it's typically called. Polling is technically when you check something in code constantly. But we don't have a way to do that in Ethereum, because the whole thing only does anything when someone interacts with it. This way, you can see what you're due, but just understand it's not updating it yet. It will update it whenever the update reward is called, and that's set up on multiple different functions. So, whenever you stake, it also updates your reward. When you stake, you're passing in the amount you want to stake. It is pulling that from the message sender. In this case, it's calling the stake function in what's called the superclass. So that's actually where it's inheriting the logic from. So we've got staked, and where did that go? Oh, well, mistakenly. There's the token wrapper. Ah, there it is. And the token wrapper for the stake, there it is, and it is staking that in. It is adding the amount to the total supply for the staking contract, to be clear, okay? Not the total supply of the overall token. We're looking at the staking contract. The total supply here is keeping track of the supply of YRISE that is in the staking contract that is available to be dispersed, all right? We looked at the token elsewhere. And in this case, it's going great. We've got that. We're going to add that to the supply that the contract has to work with, so we can because we're constantly checking that to make sure that there is something. That way we don't have an error. And then it's updating the message sender with that amount. So again, that's why we didn't see a message sender or other address come in for the stake. No one else can stake for you. You can only stake your own. That's because it's asking you directly, or it's getting your address directly to handle that. Straight up. Fantastic. It's going ahead and checking the amounts to say, okay, first off, one, we're going to update the rewards like we saw. So every time you stake, it doles out your rewards. Every time you withdraw, it doles out your rewards. Every time you get reward, it doles out your rewards. Straightforward. And once you do that, it goes ahead and stakes, admits that you staked. Fantastic. Withdraw, again, updates your rewards. Make sure that you're not withdrawing 0. It then calls that amount for withdrawal that we saw up above in the super, and that is the LP token wrapper. And here we are with withdraw, where again it's adjusting that total supply, so it's taking it from this contract off to another one, or setting that to your balance within that to keep track of how much you're available, and then actually sending that amount back. And again, here in the function, it's a public function, and it is not entirely completed, because down here is where you're actually intended to be calling that. And then that's where it's actually setting up that particular balance for you in the withdrawal. All right? Now, and again, when it's saying withdraw, to be clear, it is not removing it. All right? It is just moving it from the contract balance over to your own balance. So it is not taking it out of the contract or transferred it back to you, but it has kept track and said, okay, this is now yours. And so essentially, it's kind of like moving it from one checking account to another without actually taking it out of the bank. You know, like, okay, we're going to move it from the bank's check account into your checking account, and then you can choose to actually remove that, and then that would be where you actually have the unstake and exit. So that's what's happening here with the exit, is that in the exit, it's doing the actual withdrawal. Boom. Actually calling the withdrawal function there to say, okay, you want to get out? Cool. Let's go ahead and take that out. And let's go ahead and get your reward. What happens with get reward? Well, right there, it is establishing that, okay, with get reward, we're going to update your reward, make sure that we update your balance of what you're supposed to get before we pull you out. We're going to find out exactly what you earned. We saw that up here. So here's that earned. And so it's double checking to say, okay, so how much are you supposed to get again? I mean, we just went through, we updated the reward that you're supposed to get, and then we're going to double check to say, okay, what is the reward that you're supposed to be getting now? And we went, okay, great. So we updated the amount where we're keeping track of what you're supposed to get. Then we went and looked and said, all right, so we just updated that. What was that value again? Okay, cool. Got that. Basically just double checking their work, saying, look, update something, and then they're reading up what they just updated. Very common in code, and actually works out to be safer that way, because you can be sure that you are actually using the same value because you just keep looking for it. Anyway, in here, it checks to see, all right, let's make sure you actually have some rewards. You do. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and set your rewards to 0 from now on, because you don't have any more. You're getting your reward. You're pulling it out. And again, that's where it clears that withdraw. I want to make sure people understand that is not transferring it to you. That is taking it from the contract balance, giving it to your own balance. So you're no longer staking. And then the get reward is what's taking everything out. And so that way you have a separation to say, look, maybe I just want to take out my reward, but I want to leave my stake. Withdraw is what moves it over to that balance. And then when you do the get reward, you would get, boom, absolutely everything. All right? Then from there, it's doing the safe transfer. It's sending it to you from the contract, and it's doing that directly from your balance here in the contract to you, and then marking out the reward was paid. Straightforward. As far as the notify reward amount, this is for the only reward distribution. This is where you can get that notification of, hey, we're going to actually transfer some of that out. We are looking here that it's doing a check to say, all right, first, let's make sure that the reward distribution is over. If it is, then go ahead and divide up the reward by the duration, and the timestamp is greater than the period finish. If it is, then we're going to say, all right, we're done. We're just going to divvy up the rewards and take care of that. Else, we're going to look at the period finish and determine, all right, now we know how much is remaining. We're going to take that remaining and multiply it by the reward rate to get what is left over. And then we're going to take the reward that you're trying to work with, that's being passed in to notify that. We are then going to add on, whoops, sorry, jumped around when you zoom in like that. We're going to add on what is left over. We're going to divide that by the duration. There's the reward rate. And then we're going to double check exactly when that was last updated and update that point. And then we're going to set the period finish to say, okay, we're going to add some time for the duration there. So again, it's figuring out, we're going to keep, in the period finish, we're just going to keep adding on and adjusting that. So again, this is notify the reward amount. This is essentially just letting them to be able to extend that off if they actually need to. Say, all right, well, we want to give out rewards for a longer period of time. And then in doing that is actually saying, all right, reward, or we added in the reward there. And so that's where when we see the reward usage, we can see that they're adding that in and thus updating the reward rate. So they can't, because we don't have because they're not using a signed integer, they really don't have a way of reducing the reward rate, or let's try going to -0 or going below 0. They can't like bring that down. All they can do is add on a number, and then in adding on a number, they can divide by the duration, and they don't even have control over the duration anymore. The duration is set from that point. But, and that's, sorry, the duration there is the like a direct integer, where they just keep adding on 7 days. So they don't really have a way to control how much they're adding. They can just say, oh, well, we'd like to dispense more rewards. Okay, well, we're reward distribution, and all we can do is send in an amount for reward, and boom, here's the amount that we want to add to the reward. We're just going to add on another 7 days for distributing that and let that go through. And they go ahead and issue the event, saying that the reward was added. One point I do want to check, though, and walk you through the logic here, is that when they notify the amount, they do update reward for address 0. And so update reward for address 0, there, they would pass in the address. They would figure out what the reward per token is. That's what they're doing here. And there's no check of the address there, so the fact that it's 0 doesn't really matter. They are then going through and updating the last reward time. Yeah, the last reward time applicable. So that's going to make sure that it updates that last reward point. And then, as we can see, if the address 0, then it's not going to execute the rest of this. So that's what I want to show you, is that yes, they're technically passing it in. They're doing that as kind of a check here to say, well, let's just reuse the update reward logic that we have here. And then because of this check of 0, then that means that down here, when they do this update reward and they pass in address 0, then that means that the rest of that logic doesn't take place, and boom, they just run through. So that's it. It's a very simple structure. There's really not even any, like, it's not complex enough to really hide anything. It works smoothly, it works cleanly, it works efficiently. It is a nice, simple, elegant design. We checked the time locks, those are solid. We checked the token contract itself, that is solid and safe. We checked the staking contract, that is also solid and safe. The only idiosyncrasy, and it's not bad, I'm just giving people the heads up so they don't get surprised, is that the withdraw function is taking you out of staking. That is not actually transferring your balance that you staked back to you. Get reward would actually withdraw. And that's because when you do the withdraw, it calls the withdraw function up here, and it adds that to your balance. Alright, so again, that's where, to be very clear, you can pull out, it is possible, it's just a matter of, when you call withdraw, you're actually withdrawing from staking, you're not withdrawing your balance from the contract, and then you would actually call then you would actually call out to the get reward, and boom, it would pull out of those rewards, and pull out and update the various balances. Alright, and if you're curious, and you want to see that, here I am. I did put in a little bit so I could test things out. I can go ahead and unstake and claim rewards. And this is where, in doing that, it is going to call out and transfer my token back to me and give me my amount. And if I pull up Explorer, so you can see the transaction log there, and I pull up I'm going to let that go through, and, oh, I forgot. I didn't check the gas, did I? You know, fuck it, we'll just speed that up, so that way we don't have to worry about it. Whoops. What happened there? Oh, I had an error in the payload. I apologize. That's right. I did not put in the appropriate amount. Hold on one moment. Let me make sure I fix that. So, there we are. Let me make sure that I don't have a stuck transaction first. I apologize. I fucked up what I was clicking. My mistake. 1 second there. You're terrible. Sorry, not the contract. It's the stupid interface. So hold on. Let me double check because I made a mistake and not set things properly. Alright, it's going to take a little bit to update there. So I will get the address. Like I said, I just want to be absolutely sure that I don't have a mistake. That's also one to highlight there. I think I may have jumped the gun a little bit because when we do exit, we're doing the withdraw and then we're doing the get reward. And as you could see in the notify reward amount in the withdraw, double checking that amount, and then in the get reward where it is withdrawing that, we saw where it's actually pulling that in. And so, yep, that's where I just made my little mistake in executing things. So there. I have no idea when they pre-sold, so it's alright. I just wasn't updated on that. Oh right, this is only showing transfers. Duh. That's why it's never going to show up there. So I think I need to go to Bloxy or Etherscan and confirm and yoink and there. And yep, that's it. Yeah. It is a little stuck. Let's see if I can just fix that with a retry. Failed transaction. Why do you... You say you're pending, and then you keep reporting that you failed. Oh, god damn it. I don't know. Sorry. I think I just kind of screwed up the gas there because I wasn't paying much attention. I was just like, click, 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 I'll move on. So, I apologize there. I do have a meeting I need to get to. I kind of screwed up there on my point in that I now have a stuck transaction that I'm going to have to fix because I wasn't paying enough attention. But, other than that, yep, code works. Code is safe and sound, so we're generally fine there. We are able to deposit, buy, pull out, all that stuff. So, it functions. So yes, as I said, I got a meeting coming up in about 6 minutes here, so I'm sorry if I can't stick around to chat. Otherwise, I appreciate all of you joining. I hope you got the info that you need. Aha, there it goes. Now it actually confirmed. So let me double check there. Yes, it did. And boom, you can see here that operation where it did that. Like, okay, great, we're going to do that for, and boom, we're going to get it from. So both, this is where it then pulled out the balance and then also, boink, transferred over my reward. Alright, so that is that work there. So bam, YRISE, it is out there. It is a safe, as in it does function. It functions as advertised. The team tokens are locked up, and that's across the whole team. We saw that from the holders. The code does not have a bug. It does not have an exploit. It's a very simple implementation, so there's really not enough in there that can go wrong, you know? Like, it's just not complicated enough, which is good. I want to say that point is that that's good that they didn't pack a lot of functionality into one contract. It's good that they have different time lock contracts, because if you reduce complexity in any single contract, then there's less chance that you're going to get something wrong. So when I say that it's, a simple implementation, that's because they made sure that each contract they're using, the token, the staking contract, and the time lock vaults, are all just doing their particular piece. That's it. They're not trying to do someone else's job. The token, it's a token. It's not trying to be a staking contract. The staking contract, it's a staking contract. It's not trying to be a token. It's not trying to be a time vault. The time vaults, those are time vaults. They're not trying to be a staking contract. They're not trying to be a token. So when I say it's simple, I want to highlight that that means that it's a smooth design. There's less moving parts in each individual contract, which means there's less that could go wrong in each individual contract. To be very clear here, this is the sort of stuff that I designed for big banks. in that we're designing little applications that are all working in concert together, and as long as each one does their job, then everything moves smoothly. And because each one is a little application that's just doing their little piece of work, if you're ever curious, it's called the microservice design pattern or architectural pattern. And since each one is not that complicated and each one's doing this little piece, then it all should come together in various like emergent behavior, assembly lines, saga design pattern, all that stuff to actually say, cool, we got the job done. So there you go. Looks like the most active holder out there that could actually trade, because again, these 3 gear ones, those are the time lock vault. They're not going anywhere for a while. This is the staking contract. It's just, for some reason, Bloxy is identifying it as a token. And this is Uniswap. So it looks like the biggest holder out there is holding 245. So just know, there are some big holders out there, but you know what? That's the market. Whales dump on people. I wouldn't even necessarily call some of these guys whales, I'm not sure. But understand, remember, this is European, so the comma is the decimal point. Alright? So, there you are. Thank you very much. Oh, hello, Bob. I'm glad you're here. Always nice to have you around. I'm glad everyone's here. But you're always so helpful when you come in and drop links to remind people, to let people, yes, if you want to learn, go to the cryptozombies.io. If you would like to work on any of our projects, if you would like to work on chains, if you would like to work on the auditing platform, if you would like to work on the Audit DAO funding and governance platform, we do mentorship, but we unfortunately are not prepared yet to start off by teaching basic programming or basic Solidity. We just don't have the staff, we don't have the time, no offense, we are working on that, but for right now, kind of our entrance exam, I know it may sound silly, but kind of our entrance exam to get in is complete the Crypto Zombies, at least the Solidity part. If you have no experience coding, I would recommend complete the Libra part, because that one's a bit easier. That'll teach you some basics of coding along with, you know, coding in Libra. Then complete the Solidity part. When you're completed that, take the screenshot, send that over to block@chain.church. So again, that is block@chain.church. You still in that right? Yep, there you are. Send that over. That way we can have that screenshot. We can have a way to contact you. We're doing that because, again, as a legal entity, as an actually incorporated 501c3 in the United States, we do need to have like a defined process that we're sticking to, and we do need to have records of that being completed. So again, please take that, go to begin getting into our mentorship program, to begin working on real projects. So to be clear, this is not classroom time. We are not lecturing at you. There are not tests. There is actual work to be done. And thus, when you're doing the work, we will help you. We will mentor you through that process, but it is that apprenticeship mentoring point. So we need you to at least know how to get code working. That's what the Crypto Zombies is for. And it's fun. It's interesting. You get to make zombies. They eat people. Cool. You complete that, take the screenshot of at least the Solidity course at the end, send that over to block@chain.church. That way we have our record, because we have that defined as our, initial entrance process. We will get you on a project to help out. We will point you at the various code repos. We can give you a task list, or at least have it explained what needs to be done. And you can jump in and start making those changes. Now, to be clear, that is where you're going to need a GitHub account. And we're also going to require you to have a Keybase account. You don't need to reveal who you really are. Put whatever you want on there. Link that to any social media that you're currently using, so that way, and set up the PGP key, because we will only accept PGP signed commits. All right, you will not have commit access to our repository. You'll have to fork it, do your work, and then send that back to us. But that is my alarm for my meeting coming up, so I'm sorry, I do need to run. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you all. Lambo, Bob, everyone, Luna, you're magnificent. Thank you, everyone, for Phil. Sorry, there's just too many names to list. You're all very helpful, and I appreciate all of you, because you make this job so much easier that I don't have to remember to type everything in. So again, that is YRISE. That is the YRISE. They've got their staking open. It's looking to be at about, they're reporting a 1,500 roughly APY right now. So by all means, your call. I did get in initially just because, like I said, I Wanted to test that out, and you know what? Since everyone's told me they don't give a shit if I am buying the stuff that I'm auditing, just so long as they know that I've bought it, then I'm probably going to go get more of this and get in. But I got a meeting to get to. Have fun, everyone. I hope you got a good day. I will be back with another audit as soon as I possibly can. We've got a giant list to get through, and I know as short as it may seem to be here, there is work that's done behind the scenes where we are going through the code and confirming things, so it takes time to get through that, alright? And remember, for everyone that's requesting an audit, we do ask if the project's out, if they could make a 10 ETH donation. That is, of course, a suggested donation. We would appreciate any amount. That does help cover our bills, cover costs. That does help get people involved. This is how I was able to bring Deadface onto the team. This is how I've been talking with other folks. Deadface isn't charging much, but he does, like, he has bills, you know? Like, everyone's got bills. So we all need to get something to pay our bills. If we're doing this, we're not doing something else. That's all it comes down to. So, with that, thank you and good day. I'll be back as soon as I possibly can. Not entirely sure when that is,